Okay, so we're going to start, and we'll start by doing three bows to the Buddha. Okay. One, two, three. And then I will do the salutation. N- Namo ta, excuse me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Okay, so today is November 8th, and then I'm going to share the screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
No, yes,
Okay.
yes, Bhante.
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, so we're continuing now with the reading of the numerical discourses, and we're in the book of sevens. And so first, I just wanted to take a brief look at sutta number 62, which is on the theme, the theme of merit. And the Pali word for merit,
Punya.
hmm, let me start over again. A participant has asked you to start meeting questions, not now, so later we take the questions. Um, okay. And so the Pali word for merit is punya. It's actually pronounced, it has the ends have a little wiggle on top. And maybe merit is maybe not so satisfactory a translation, but it's the conventional translation. And so the word punya in, well, the word merit in English suggests that sort of you're getting, I remember when I was in kindergarten or in elementary school, we would get these cards. And when you do a good deed, the teacher would put a little like golden star if you're really good, and a silver star if you're a little bit good. And you get, some kind of bad symbol if you do something bad. So the golden star or the silver star is like, we call it, those would be the merit cards. But that's not quite the meaning of merit. It's not that somebody is conferring some benefits upon you, but punya has the sense of wholesome karma, karma with the potential to produce desirable results both at the mundane level or in the secular sphere of life or at the world transcending level. The It's sort of part of the equipment that one has to acquire to gain the world transcending attainments, whether it's the meditative absorptions, the deep insight knowledge, or the paths of liberation and the fruits of liberation. And in the sutta, the Buddha is actually speaking to the monks, which is interesting. And he tells the monks, very often I hear some like American followers of Buddhism say, merit that's something for Asian cultural Buddhists, but we don't have anything to do with merit. But here the Buddha is speaking to the monks, and he says, do not be afraid of merit, that merit is a designation for happiness. And then he's explaining on the basis of his own recollection of his past dwellings, his past abodes. So he says that he remembers that for a long time he experienced the desirable, agreeable results of merit that he had made over a long time. He says, for 7 years, I developed a mind of loving kindness. This would be the metta, the mind of, of metta. We just did it for about 4 or 5 minutes. We did it. So here the Buddha has done it in the past for 7 years. And then he says, as a result of that mind of loving kindness, for 7 aeons of world dissolution and world evolution, I didn't come back to this world. And to what extent we should take this quite literally, I don't know, but this is just what the text says, that when the world was dissolving, that is during a period when the aeon is undergoing destruction, and so life in the human world or even in the lower heavenly worlds becomes impossible. And so then he says, I was fared on. That means I was reborn in the realm of streaming radiance. This is the Abhasara Deva world, which is one of the domains in the Rupa Dhatu corresponding to the second jhana. So I think it's the Abhasara is the highest level corresponding to the second jhana. And so what happens when the world is dissolving, then all of the lower realms of existence are obliterated, and even the heavens, the sense sphere heavens are obliterated. And I believe even the Brahma world is obliterated. And so it said that the beings in this world get reborn in the Abhasara Deva world. Okay, then when the world was evolving, when the world was starting to take shape again, then what happens is that it said an empty mansion appears in the Brahma world. And then here it says that he was reborn in that empty mansion of Brahma, and he became the Mahabrahma, that is the supreme ruler of the Brahma world. So he describes himself as the great Brahma, the vanquisher, the unvanquished, the universal seer, the wielder of mastery. So that was one of the fruits of the mind of loving kindness, the merits of loving kindness that he had developed. Then he says that he was Chakra. Chakra is the ruler of the Devas in the Tavatingsa Deva world, one of the heavens in the Kamaloka, in the desire realm. 36 times, then hundreds of times, he says, I was a wheel-turning monarch. The wheel-turning monarch is the righteous king who rules in accordance with the mundane Dhamma and establishes peace and harmony throughout the world. In the rest of the description, we don't need the details. And then the verse really just repeats. And then he says, after this, hmm, Yeah, after this, he says, I was born into a rich family, etc., etc. Then he was a king, the Lord of Jambudvipa. And then concluding, he says, therefore, one desiring the good, well, aspiring for greatness should deeply revere the good Dhamma, recollecting the Buddha's teaching. The verse doesn't quite fit into the context of this sutta. And then I just wanted to look at some other passages that I took, which speaks about what happens when the world dissolves. And this is from the Brahmajala Sutta, the first sutta in the Digha Nikaya. Okay, so here the text says that after a certain long period of time, this world, the world in which we're living, disintegrates. And it says, when the world is disintegrating, beings for the most part are reborn in the Abhasara Brahma world. And this I find puzzling. I don't know how to explain this. To be reborn in the Abhasara Brahma world, normally it's said that that is the realm of rebirth for those who cultivate the second jhana to a superior degree. So if this world is dissolving, what about all the animals? What about ordinary people who go about their ordinary life, no interest in meditation, doing business, accounting, politics, administration, factory workers? Are they reborn? Computer engineers? Are they reborn in the Abhasara Brahma world? How is that possible? I don't know. I think the commentaries attempt to give some explanation, not very convincing, I have to say. They say that when the world is dissolving, all of the beings sort of get agitated and start practicing meditation very diligently, gain the second jhana, and then they're reborn in the in the Abhasara world through their attainment of the jhana. So I just don't know. Anyway, so it says, there they dwell, they're made by mind, they subsist on piti, on rapture, they don't have to eat food, they move through the air, and they continue that way for a long time. And then when this world begins to manifest again, then this empty palace of Brahma appears, and then a certain being who has been in the Abhasara world, when his merit there is exhausted, he passes away from the Abhasara plane and he is reborn into the empty palace of Brahma, and there he dwells for a long time. Anyway, we don't need the details here. So this is just how shows how this empty palace of Brahma appears, and then a certain being in the Abhasara world passes away from there and takes rebirth into the Brahma world in that empty palace of Brahma. And according to the Brahmajala Sutta, that being gives rise to the delusion. It's considered to be a delusion that he grasped hold of, thinking, I am the Brahma, the great Brahma, the supreme being, the father of all that are to be, the father of all that exists and are to be. So in the Brahmajala Sutta, this idea of Mahabrahma is considered like a deluded idea that this happens through the working of karma, but he thinks, I am the creator. But in the sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, it's the future Buddha, the Bodhisattva, who's reborn there. So it wouldn't be a diluted idea on the part of the Bodhisattva. So I don't know how to reconcile these two suttas. In any case, I took another sutta which shows, according to the text, some of the benefits of merit. And this is a short sutta in verse in the Kudakapata. It's called the Nidhi Sutta. I just copied the Pali so I could just translate it on the spot. So it says that this, referring to merit, is the treasure which fulfills all of one's desires or fulfills all of the desires of devas and human beings. And whatever one wishes, all of this is obtained through merit. Then it enumerates some of the things that come about through the force of merit. Okay, these are just variants. So Suvanata means a beautiful complexion. Susarata means a good voice, maybe a sweet speaking voice, or maybe a musical voice. Somebody who aspires to be a singer with a beautiful singing voice will get that beautiful voice through merit. Maybe somebody like the American folk singer Joan Baez, very almost like a heavenly voice. That's probably the result of merit. And Susantana, a good figure, comes about through merit. And Surupata also means like beauty, in a general way, beauty. And then Adipacha is a position like lordship or mastery, a position of, I'm sorry to say this, high political office. So presidents and prime ministers of countries, kings, through merit. Sometimes they're really bad guys, but I don't know. The working of karma must be very, very complex. And parivaro, this is an entourage to have a large number of followers or devotees. So all of this is acquired through merit. Then it says padesa rajang. So this would be kingship over a smaller territory. So this would be like maybe the position of governor, mayor, chief minister of a particular territory. Assyrian, pretty much similar. And then even the bliss of being a Chakravati Raja, that is the universal emperor, the wheel-turning monarch. And then to be the king of the gods among the devas, all of this is gained through merit. And then we have Manusika Sampatti. So this is excellence or achievement as a human being. And then Deva Loke Rati, delight in the Deva world. So these are, we could say, these are mundane benefits or goals that are achieved through merit, but also the world transcending or supramundane. So that is the achievement of Nibbana. All of this is acquired through merit. So if one aspires for success as a human in the human world or in the Deva world, one has to accumulate merits. And if one aspires for Nibbana, also you have to cultivate merits. So You can't achieve nibbana just through merit, but merit, I compare this to the gasoline that you put into the car. So in order to run the car, you have to have gasoline in the tank. But if you have the tank full of gasoline and you don't turn the ignition on, the car is not going to run. So you have to turn the ignition on, which means that you cultivate, say, the Noble Eightfold Path or the seven factors of enlightenment, the four foundations of mindfulness. That is turning on the ignition. But sometimes if there's no gas in the car, you turn the ignition on, you get this whirring sound. But the car just doesn't turn on because there's no gasoline. So that is like somebody makes a lot of effort in meditation, but they're not able to really gain any attainments because they don't have the accumulation of merits. So you need both the accumulation of merits as the fuel for the attainment and the right effort in the present life, which is like turning on the ignition. And then I think that's suggested here in the next verse. So it says, Mita sampadam agama. So that is relying upon, and this would be implied kalyana mita, relying upon the encounter with good friends, with spiritual friends. And then this is yoniso payunjito, for one striving wisely or correctly. And then we have vijja. Vijja is the higher knowledge, the liberating knowledge. And vimutti is liberation. This would be especially the achievement of the paths and the fruits. And vasi bhavo would be mastery, probably mastery over this higher knowledge and liberation. So all of this is obtained through this, that is through merit. And then there are even further attainments. This is the patisambhida. Patisambhida, these are special kinds of analytical knowledge that are acquired by arhats with very sharp faculties. And to acquire those analytical knowledges, that also requires merit. And vimokkha, these would be the special meditative absorptions, very powerful meditative absorptions. We call these the emancipations. And then savaka parami. So this is the status of being chief disciples or great disciples of a Buddha. That comes about. How does Sariputta become chief disciple of with respect to wisdom? How does Moggallana become chief disciple with respect to psychic powers? How does Ananda become a great disciple with respect to learning? Mahakassapa with respect to the ascetic practices, and so on. All of this, of course, other qualities are needed, but one of the essential qualities is the accumulation of merit. And then comes Pacceka Bodhi. This is the enlightenment of a Pacceka Buddha, one who attains enlightenment without depending on others, but doesn't have the ability to establish the Dhamma in the world. And then Buddha Bhumi, this is the stage of Buddhahood. So even those who become fully enlightened Buddhas require the accumulation of merits. So it says all of this is acquired through that merit. And so therefore it says that this accumulation of merit is greatly beneficial, and therefore the wise praise the doing of meritorious deeds. Okay, so this, I just wanted to do a brief look at that sutta on the accumulation of merits. And so we see that the Buddha, sometimes I say the modern Buddhists, especially some of the contemporary Buddhists, have this idea that merit is just a superstitious practice. And it can be superstitious, where you think that you just go and do worship and recite verses and maybe do circumambulation of stupas, while your mind is wandering and thinking about your family, your business affairs, and that you're going to acquire merit in that mechanical way. But the Buddha does emphasize the importance again and again of engaging in meritorious deeds as the foundation for both mundane types of success and happiness and also these world transcending achievements. Okay, maybe if we want that, if anybody has any questions on the sutta. Okay, so I see now there's a Jason, not Jason here, and but there's another Jason in Florida.
Good morning, Bhante. Um, I was wondering if I might be able to ask a general question
Yeah,
about merit, not specific to the sutta.
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I've heard it taught that with dedicating our merit, that merit can only be received if a being knows we're dedicating our merit to
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Is that a correct understanding?
You mean with sharing the merit with others?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, usually it's said that, hmm, well, you see, there are two complementary practices. One is sharing merits. In this way, you make the intention, may other beings rejoice in my merits. And then the other complementary practice is rejoicing in the merits of others. Okay, so if I'm want to share the merit, say I want to share the merit with a friend of mine who's living, say, in North Dakota, and I don't tell him anything about I'm sharing the merit, can he participate in that merit? It seems not, I would say, as a guess. But okay, if I inform him I'm sharing my merits with you, please rejoice in them, then if he rejoices in my meritorious deeds, then he'll share in those merits, or he'll get the merit by rejoicing in my merits. But now I would also say that there are other, according to Buddha's teaching, there are like many beings who are sort of invisible to us in other planes of existence. And so when we do, like we do at the end of the sutta class, I do Akasa Tacha Bhumata Deva Naga Mahidika. So I think that there are devas and nagas in other realms of existence, and we invite them to rejoice in our merits. So I don't see them, I don't have any direct communication with them, but supposedly, though they're invisible to us, but they are able to witness our meritorious deeds. And so when we mentally share the merits with them, they are able to rejoice in our merits and they participate in the merits. That would be my guess.
Thank you. Yes, I just kind of like think about it when I'm dedicating merit versus goodwill and the semantics. And so I was wanting to hear your take on it. So thank you very much, Bhante.
Yeah, dedicating merit is something more specific than goodwill. Like having goodwill or metta is you're just generating the wish, may these beings be well and happy, well and happy. But in the sharing of the merit, you're sort of mentally inviting, may the devas, the nagas, or all beings rejoice in my merit. And those invisible beings who can witness or read our minds, they will rejoice in the merit and participate in the merits.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, Elizabeth?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. Two question. One, a short one is it keeps on mentioning the empty palace of the well, what does that mean? Empty palace of the Brahma world.
Yeah, it seems that first the palace appears and nobody is living in there, just through the unfolding of the world process that is part of the process. The palace appears, and then a being from the Abhasara world, probably the one with the highest degree of merit, passes away from the Abhasara world and then gets reborn into that empty palace. And that is the being who becomes the Mahabrahma, the great Brahma.
But I guess I'm stuck with this. Why is the empty palace be good? I mean, won't that be was that something symbolic, or I mean, why do you want it to be empty? A palace supposed to be full of things, as if that makes you comfortable. I
Well,
guess that's
probably there are things in the palace, but it means that initially nobody is inhabiting that palace. But it's
okay.
when the being passes away from the Abhasara world and gets reborn there, then he becomes the first inhabitant, or he becomes the inhabitant of that empty palace. But presumably there are various things in the empty palace before he gets reborn there. Soap, toothpaste, a razor, bed. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. The second question is, I thought when we're trying to do good merits, just for the sake that this is the right thing to do, but without this description, as if we'll try to accumulate merits so we can gain
Yeah,
more
yeah,
and power, and so I find it's kind of a little conflicting,
yeah.
as if
Probably the ideal thing is to do the meritorious deed without having desire for particular benefit.
yes.
Yeah, that would be sort of the ideal. And that's what turns the meritorious deed into a parami. It becomes a parami when it's done without the thought of gaining some particular mundane benefit in
Okay. Good.
response. But maybe the Buddha wants to encourage, because people naturally, worldly people have the mind of getting something in return. And so to encourage
Mm.
people to do good deeds, you have to give them some incentive. So initially you say, do it with the aspiration to gain beauty as a human being, success as a human being, or to become a powerful ruler, or to become a deva or a king of the devas. Yeah, but
Okay.
once a person gets more spiritually advanced, then do the meritorious deed, but don't have any craving or desire for particular results.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
That's my opinion. Okay. Okay, Jeff.
Yes, Bhante, I'm sorry. I'm at Harvard and I've got something going on here. I'll have to ask you another time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then Gita. Maybe Gita didn't have the question. Then Madeline.
Thank you, Bhante. Bhante, I've been dedicating my merit at the end of my morning puja every day to my dead mother and to other relatives who have died, who have passed away, hoping that they will soon be reborn into a good destination or achieve nibbana. Is that the correct use of dedicating merit?
Yeah, it's a regular practice. Um, so one thinks of one's departed relatives, and then one sort of aspires that one's merits that they will be able to, if there are particular realms of existence where they
Mm,
can witness or become aware of your intention, that they'll rejoice in your merits, and in that way they'll share in the merits.
right. I
So
particularly
in Pali we say for idang no nyati nang hotu sukita hantu nyatayo. So may this meritorious deed be shared with my relatives. May
Yes.
my relatives be well and happy. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
And then,
Bhante, can you hear me?
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Bhante, my question on merit was, I mean, definitely when you're making the merit, you're not expecting anything like a personal gain, but isn't it good to aspire to awaken to Nibbana and
Yeah,
dedicate
definitely.
those
Yeah,
merits to Nibbana to develop your
yeah, definitely.
paramis?
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Because that, I mean, having that kind of a desire is not a worldly desire.
Yeah, 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 definitely that's the truth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Bhante. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I want to pass on now to the next sutta that we had because I actually said that we would take a brief look at this sutta and then give more attention to the other sutta. And so this next sutta is more, so in a way, more practical. And on your own, you can take a look at this sutta I'm skipping over on the 7 kinds of wives. But recognize that that sutta is formulated against the backdrop of the ancient Indian society. I'm afraid if we teach it now in America, 21st century, it'll turn some people off from Buddhism. Yeah, so this is a sutta on ways to reflect on anger in order to help to weaken and to remove anger. And this is sometimes taught as a preliminary or preparatory stage for doing the meditation of loving kindness. So it's said that as preparation for loving kindness, one is supposed to do, or what is advised to do, a reflection on the adinava, the drawbacks or dangers of anger or hatred and ill will. And so the sutta enumerates 7 drawbacks or dangers of anger. And it speaks of them as 7 things that are gratifying to an enemy that come upon an angry man or a woman. And so let's see what they are. And we can sort of simplify. We don't need the full elaboration. But the main point, okay, here is that when an angry person is overcome and oppressed by anger, even if he's dressed up beautifully, he becomes ugly. So if you know people when actually, if you ever look at yourself in the mirror when you get angry, you see that the facial expression is really very repulsive. The brow gets knitted, the cheeks get contracted, a scowl appears on the face, and you become frightful to others. And then what actually happens to a person who is repeatedly angry, who is always nurturing angry thoughts or hateful thoughts, that those features sort of get sculpted into the face. They become imprinted on the face so that even when the person is not angry, but still those tendency towards an angry expression or an aggressive expression flies out from the face. So when you see a person who's often angry, you get a bit frightened by them. And so it's said that one of the benefits, the corresponding benefits of loving kindness is that you become that you get a beautiful complexion, that the face becomes shiny, bright, radiant, and generates a lot of goodwill. So even if a person is sort of conventionally considered to be homely or ugly, but if they have a lot of beautiful loving kindness, a lot of loving kindness in the heart, it shows up in the facial expressions that the face becomes very agreeable and attractive. So that's one of the benefits of dispelling anger and developing loving kindness. Okay, then a second drawback or danger in anger is that it becomes disturbing to one's sleep. So if you've ever had experience maybe getting angry in the evening or at night before going to sleep, and then you lie down in the bed, but then the angry thoughts repeatedly circulate in the mind, and so it prevents you from falling into a good, peaceful, gentle, deep sleep. And then the counterpart to this, it's said that when one regularly cultivates the mind of loving kindness, sukhang supati sukhang pati bhujati, that one falls asleep easily or happily, and one wakes up happily. So
怎么
even if
样？你
you're
今天没好一点吧？
somebody talking to me, it sounded like Chinese, no? Yeah, so even if you're lying down in a luxurious bed of the kind described here, still one sleeps badly. Okay, the third disadvantage in anger or ill will is that you don't succeed in realizing your aim, your aspiration. And the way the text expresses this. So when a person is overcome by anger, if he gets what is harmful, he thinks, I have gotten what is beneficial. It's a little puzzling. And if he gets what is beneficial, he thinks, I've gotten what is harmful. I find this one a little bit puzzling, but maybe we could look at it later. Okay, then we come to number 4. And so this says when an angry person is overcome by anger, kings appropriate any wealth he has acquired by energetic striving, amassed by the strength of his arms, etc., righteous wealth righteously gained. Now, this might have been the case in ancient India during the Buddha's time. It doesn't seem to work in contemporary time. That your wealth, you're deprived of your wealth. Okay, number 5, when an angry person is overcome and oppressed by anger, he loses any fame or good reputation that he might have acquired through heedfulness, through diligence. I wonder, is this true today? What do you think?
Yes, I think so, Bhante.
Because it seems that there are a lot of people who are very famous, and yet they're also known to become very angry. Even if they send out angry tweets through their Twitter account. And yet they become very famous and sometimes very popular, no? Okay, number 6. When an angry person is often overcome, oppressed by anger, then his friends and family members avoid him from afar. Yeah, I think that there's some truth in this, though also because people's characters can be very complex. So there can be somebody who is prone to angry outbursts of anger at sometimes, but also they can be, if they're wealthy or they have a charismatic personality, they could also attract people. So they can be popular at times, and then when they get angry, then it deters people and chases them away. But I think what seems to be true as a general principle is that if you're consistently, frequently angry, aggressive, and hostile, the people who have been associating with you will want to avoid you. And even other people will sort of pick up on your bad vibrations, your bad vibes, and they'll avoid you. So sometimes, and I've seen this myself, somebody comes into a room, you've never met that person before, but as soon as you look at that person, you feel int intimidated, you feel some kind of contraction in your heart, and you don't want to associate with that person. You could even feel a bit afraid. You don't know the person, but somehow you just get the intuitive sense that this is an aggressive, vengeful, spiteful, or explosive and angry person, and you don't want to associate with them. And on the other hand, this is the counterpart, the kind of person who consistently and regularly develops the mind of metta and karuna, of kindness and compassion. You don't know anything about their practice, but they come into the room, you look at the person, and they have that sweet, beautiful musical vibrations come out from the face and the body, and you feel drawn and attracted to that person. Do you have experiences like that? You take somebody like our Bangalore Bhante Ananda. I know as soon as he comes into a room, everybody feels very happy. They like him. So it's just sort of the natural sort of impact of his mind of metta, his heart of metta on people. Okay, so these are the first 6 are things that we could see and experience for ourselves in this life. The 7th one is something that we might not be able to see for ourselves. But this is what the Buddha says through his insight into the workings of karma. So when an angry person is often overcome by anger, then that person will engage in bad conduct by way of body, speech, and mind. And even if he doesn't engage in bad conduct by way of body and speech, but even just the mind of anger, hatred, resentment, spite, envy, hostility towards others itself generates unwholesome karma. And so if that karma takes on the role of generating rebirth, then with the breakup of the body after death, he or she will be reborn in the plane of misery. That's one of the three lower realms of existence. Could be the hell realm, the realm of the pretas, the afflicted spirits, the animal realm. Reborn in the plane of misery, the bad destination, a lower world, even in hell. Yeah, so those are 7 disadvantages of anger and ill will. And then just to help us develop a more positive mind, I made a little list of some of the ways, methods of developing patience. And there are some suttas on developing patience that we looked at earlier. So these are in the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of Fives, Sutta number 161 and 162. But here I took some other methods, which I think we find in commentaries and later texts. So one way, if somebody is acting in a hostile way, aggressive way to you, you reflect on the aggressor by way of the aggregates or the elements. So you think, usually we see this person as a kind of unitary whole. So he is aggressive towards me. He is harming me. She is harming me. But then you look at that person, what is that person? The person is just the constellation of the 5 aggregates. So what are you going to get angry with in return? You get angry with the bodily form, no reason to get angry with the form. Do you get angry with the feelings? Don't get angry with the feelings. With the perceptions, with the mental formations. Of course, the person's aggression comes from the sankhara, their intentions, but you just recognize those intentions are just impermanent events, and so you don't get angry with the intentions. And the consciousness is just the awareness, so you don't get angry with the consciousness. And so when you look at the hostile person as just the assemblage of the 5 aggregates, then there's nothing there to get angry with. It might seem a little bit artificial, but it's just a pragmatic tool that you use to get rid of the anger. So that is a kind of specific way, focusing in on the 5 aggregates. And then here I have applying anatta in a general way. So sort of what underlies reacting to a hostile person with anger is a subtle grasping on the notion of a self, a substantial person who is there. But you apply the reflection on anatta, the hostile person is not a self, not a soul, not a living entity, and I myself am not a self. And so there's no person, no substantial self there who is harming a substantial self here. And when you reflect in that way, it helps to dissolve the anger. It's not that it's going to work immediately, but if you do this as a regular practice, it helps to weaken the tendency of anger to flare up in the mind. A third kind of pragmatic reflection one can use, that you think of the aggressor or the hostile person as the instrument of karmic retribution. So the reason this person is doing harm to me, really the one who set that whole process in motion was I myself, because of my own past akusala karma, my own bad deeds in the past. So I created that bad karma, and now that bad karma is coming back to me through that person who's just the instrument for working out my bad karma. So I'm going to be, if that person is aggressive towards me, no reason for me to be angry with that person. If I'm going to be angry with anyone, I should be angry with myself because I'm the one who created the conditions for that person to attack me. Okay, a fourth method is that you see the aggressor as a teacher, or we could even say a benefactor, who is helping us to develop patience. So if everything was hunky-dory, everybody was sweet and kind to us, everybody helpful to us, no opportunity to develop patience. And then if a little thing goes contrary to our wishes, then we get angry easily. Mosquito bites me, I get angry with the mosquito. The weather is too hot, too cold, I get angry with the weather. But it's that person who is spiteful, who is aggressive, even sometimes even physically harmful, abusive. It doesn't mean that you always have to just be sweet and submissive and sweet, submissive, and accepting of the harm that person is inflicting. Sometimes you have to stand up and defend yourself, but still you do it without anger and resentment. You can stand up with a strong mind and say, you shouldn't speak like that. You shouldn't act like that. But you don't get angry in the mind. But still, you think of that person as being your benefactor because patience is one of the paramitas, kanti parami. And so if nobody is ever aggressive towards us, we never get a chance to practice patience. Right, right. So somebody harms us and we say, thank you. Wow, you're really helping me to develop patience. That's the fourth method. The fifth method is to think of the aggressor as being insane. So when we could always think of anger or hatred as a kind of insanity. So somebody is spiteful towards me, aggressive towards me. So instead of thinking, sort of fixating on that person as being an antagonist, an enemy, I think he's a madman. He's insane. And then you would feel compassion for an insane person. And so you look at the angry person in the same way. I'm trying to think, there was a story, Ajahn Chah, I read in a talk by Ajahn Chah, the Thai meditation master. Yeah, he gave the example, like if you're like walking down the street and there's a person on the other side of the street, every time you walk down that street, that person is yelling at you. So if your natural reaction is to get angry with that person and turn, why is he yelling at me? Why is he insulting me? Why is he abusing me? So you walk like 3 or 4 days, you walk down the street. Each time the person is on the other side of the street, they are yelling and abusing you and insulting you, and you're getting angry at that person. You really want to go across the street and punch that person. So that happens 4 days. The fifth day, you're walking down the street, that person is yelling at you, calling you an idiot, a fool, a monster. And you're really tempted to go across and punch that person. But then somebody else comes over to you and says, don't pay any attention to that person. everybody knows that's the village madman. He's insane. Then you think, oh, how could I have nurtured those feelings of ill will towards that person? Wow, so sad that that person is just walking around the streets insulting. And then they say, oh, don't take that personally. He says that to everyone. He just stays there all day long, insulting everybody who walks by. And then you think, wow, he's not speaking only to me, but he says that to everyone. And then just your anger dissolves and you just feel sad and compassion for that person. Okay, so these are some tools for helping to dissolve anger. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Let me get the participant list. Okay. Okay, Jia?
Thank you, Bhante, for teaching. I have a quick question about the simile of the sutta regarding to anger. In Mahayana, actually, I came across the simile, something like spitting in the air, spitting to the air. It's a form of anger. I'm wondering that in Nikayas, do they have any sutta using this type of a simile? Because recently I have learned about the guest of the house towards anger. That's you translated that one. That was a very good example.
The guest of the house?
Yeah, guest of a house. It's like people coming in. Is it a gift of the house? Gift to the guest.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
They
Okay, now I remember. Yeah,
offer a
okay.
gift to the guest.
Yeah, okay,
Uh,
okay. Yeah, that is, yeah, I remember the sutta now. That
yeah, and then you also have the other simile like yasha, anger eating yasha. Anger eating
oh, yeah. The anger eating yakka, yeah.
yaka. Yeah, I'm wondering, do you have come across simile like spitting to the air
Into
in
the wind.
yeah,
And then the wind blows a spit back into your face.
right, exactly.
Yeah, that's not specifically to Mahayana. That's, I think, comes into a Mahayana sutra, but it comes in the text of early Buddhism. Um, I remember seeing it in the Samyutta Nikaya. Let's see.
Okay.
I think it's in the first book of the Samyutta Nikaya, the Deva Samyutta. I don't know the number offhand, but it's in the Deva, one of the early suttas in the Deva Samyutta.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. So just for the people who don't know, it said that one who repays an angry man with anger, this is like you spit, but the wind is blowing towards your face and you spit at somebody, but the wind blows the spit back into your face and then you get hit with the spit rather than the other person. Yeah, it comes that simile, it comes several places in the Nikayas. Okay, we'll have to go on with the questions. Next will be Namki.
Yes, thank you, Bhante, for your teaching. My comment is related to that, similar to that, but I think it's in the Nikayas. The angry person is like grabbing a hot burning coal and trying to throw at other people. So you have to hurt yourself.
Yeah,
And so it's anger is fire in your heart. So
yeah,
you are hurting yourself.
yeah,
So that's why we have to be compassionate toward those people who are angry.
yeah, yeah. One finds that simile someplace in the Nikayas. I don't remember exactly where. So you pick up, yeah, to be angry with somebody else is like picking up a burning coal and then you get burnt. Okay, so next will be Manfred. Manfred, you have to unmute.
Manfred, you're muted. You're muted.
Good morning, Bhante. Sorry about that. Earlier you mentioned, would people lose their reputation because of anger?
Yeah.
And there are very popular people, actually, like Steve Jobs, Albert Schweitzer, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi. All of those people were really given to bouts of anger, and in my opinion, did not lose their good reputation.
Yeah, so that's why I put a question mark around that particular point. Yeah, it's just that's just true that sometimes even some maybe famous movie actors, actresses, pop singers can get sometimes very angry, but they still have a good reputation. So it's
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Well, thank you.
But maybe we could just say that don't take that all of these stipulations are work with in the 100% accuracy, but maybe just take them as general rules rather than blanket infallible statements. Okay, we'll take one more question. I just see the name NBG.
Yes, thank you, Bhante. My name's Maricela,
Oh, this
and
is Maricela. Okay.
yes, it's so wonderful to continue to learn your
Yeah.
teachings. Um, Bhante, I had the same question as the previous person, Manfred,
Yeah.
and around that fifth effect of anger, around the fame and reputation.
Yeah.
And I understand that when we look at others, we look at their whole, and ourselves, we look at our whole everything, not just the anger in that moment,
Yeah.
but the whole sutra on putting 5 ways to put an end to anger of if they're using bodily, if their bodily performance is angry,
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about their mind. So
Yeah.
I understand that. And I also wonder about the same previous person asking the question of what does it say about our society in this time when, say, someone like the current president of the US is showing so much anger
Yeah.
repetitively. Now this is his second term, so clearly his anger from the previous term was gained him popularity instead of demise. And it just makes me wonder about what is it that we're seeing beyond that anger to allow the fame to continue, the reputation to continue.
I'm not quite sure that I understand the question. Maybe
It's a
put it very simply. Try to put it simply. Yeah.
yes, thank you. The question is, what does it say about our society
Oh, I
in,
see. That a person like that can get reelected.
Yes, yes.
yes, Bhante.
That would require a rather complex political analysis, which I don't have the time to do here. I would say that, okay, so, there still remains, they say that he has the lowest what, approval rating, but they say high 30s, 40%. And when I hear that, I slap my head and I think, that means 4 out of 10 people still think he's doing a good job. No, it's not a laughing matter. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say that he got elected probably through a lot of, on the one hand, economic anxiety, and a lot of people just fell for the belief that he would be able to turn the economy around as he was boasting he would be able to do. And also, a lot of people have to say, I mean, this gets into political analysis, were not so inspired and strongly motivated to go out to vote for Kamala Harris. And so, even though Trump did not get if I remember the polls, he didn't get a significantly higher number of votes than he got in 2020 when he lost to Biden. But because a lot of people didn't vote, a lot of people who voted in 2020 didn't vote in 2024. So he had enough of a margin to carry the election. Okay, but another thing that your question just brought up to my mind, and this is something that I experience myself when I hear that, okay, like what, 40 million people are on the verge of losing their SNAP, that is the food stamp benefits. So many millions of people might see their healthcare premiums skyrocket and so on. But things like that happen. Are we just going to remain sort of sweet, soft, and gentle and say, equanimous, that's the way it is? So what I do, in my thinking, I make a distinction between what I call obsessive or emotional anger and moral indignation or moral resistance. So when I hear things like so many people losing their SNAP benefits or their healthcare premiums skyrocketing, doubling or tripling, then I think this is something we have to stand up against. We have to protect those people, and we have to do so even forcefully, not violently, but strongly. But doing so without letting the mind get carried away by anger, sort of overcome by anger, but rather you sort of like mobilize that moral resistance or that moral indignation as a strong motivation for standing up to defend the vulnerable and to oppose those who are doing harmful deeds. Okay, I think I'm going to have to end the session now because we'll have to go up for the meal. Okay, so we're going to do the sharing of the merits. Okay, so yeah, so the question was asked earlier about the sharing of the merits. So we do share the merits with the Dhamma protecting devas, the nagas or dragon spirits, and then with all beings. So I'll recite the verses in Pali. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirang kantu sasanam. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirang kantu desanam. Akasata chabumata deva naga mahidika punyanta manumoditva chirangra kantu mang parang imina no dukha patachani dukha baya patachani baya soka patachani soka hantu sabe pipanino. May those in suffering be free from suffering. May those in fear be free from fear. May those in sorrow be free from sorrow. May all living beings also be thus. And then, and then we'll end with 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, so we could stand up. Well, those in the room can stand up.
Bow to Bhante.
Out to Bhante. Thank you, Bhante Bodhi.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you,
Everybody for
Bhante.
coming.
Thank you,
Sadhu, sadhu,
Bhante.
Thank you,
sadhu.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you
Bhante.
so much for sharing.
Excellent,
Bhante.
Bhante.
Sadhu,
Bhante.
sadhu.